Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. The format is slightly different. My desktop computer will be in the repair shop for some time, and I'm just functioning on a cell phone basis. We welcome everybody who's tuning in to this broadcast from the Hare Krishna Society Prabhupada Disciples Association. First, I wanted to make one or two announcements. We've got very good news of one devotee in Honolulu, Hawaii, who is distributing Srila Prabhupada's original books every day. He sells clothes in a flea market or some kind of arrangement, and every single day he distributes Prabhupada's original Bhagavad Gita. His name is Dinashraya Das, a very dedicated devotee, initiated devotee, very serious devotee, and he has also told me that the local temple in Honolulu also distributes many of Srila Prabhupada's original non-adulterated books, which is very, very good news. Srila Prabhupada would be very pleased, is very pleased with his development. So we're very happy with that. And we will continue and start our program today. I will be here trying to handle everything. First, we will start our regular offering of oblations and homages to Lord Krishna, and then reading a few select verses from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya Narayanam namaskritya Naram cheva narottamam Naram cheva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet Tato jayam mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest Srimad Bhagavatam or Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:2:4. We will be reading a few select verses from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita from Adi Lila chapter 1, text number 18, which describes the meaning and the benefit of hearing this great, powerful, transcendental literature. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Text number 19. 18 Thakur Gaudiya ke Karye Chenoyat Masat 18 Charana Vandan Tire Morinat. These three deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text number 20. Grante Rarambi Karimangala Charana Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Text number 21. Tinera smarani ay vigna vinashana anayase ay nijavanchita purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Text number 22. Se mangala charanai trivida prakar vastu nirdesa chiravada namaskaram. The invocation involved three processes defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. As we do every week, we will read one or two selected passages where Srila Prabhupada explains the transcendental position of this literature, the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is from a conversation. I don't have all the details here. Just one second. This is a letter from Srila Prabhupada on the 2nd of November, 1976. 2nd of November, 1976, to one Hridayananda. Please accept my blessings. I am in receipt of your letter dated nil, accompanied by 2 copies of the first edition of the Portuguese Bhagavad Gita. It is very nice. You are doing very nicely. This enthusiasm is required. It is the basic principle in making advancement in Krishna's service. You have written to say you want to start printing Chaitanya Charitamrita. I think it is too difficult. It is better for the time being to simply continue with the Bhagavatam. Chaitanya Charitamrita is the postgraduate study. You have written that chanting, dancing, and book distribution are going on nicely. Prasadam distribution should also be introduced. This will make the program even more effective. I am glad to know that Panchadrivya is doing so nicely. He is a very good assistant. Hoping this will meet you in good health. Your ever well-wisher, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So we will proceed with our reading of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This week we are reading from Adi Lila, chapter 4, text number, I don't see the note, 181. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Text number 181. Tabe yedikiye gopiranija dehe prita, sehota Krishnera lagi janta nishchita. Tabe now, ye whatever, dikiye we see, gopira of the gopis, nijadehe in their own bodies, prita affection, seho that, ta certainly, Krishnera for Lord Krishna, Janiha no, Nishchita for certain. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Now, whatever affection we see the gopis show in their own bodies, know it for certain to be only for the sake of Lord Krishna. Purport. The selfless love of Godhead exhibited by the gopis cannot have any parallel. We should not therefore misunderstand the carefulness of the gopis in their personal decoration. The gopis dressed themselves as beautifully as possible just to make Krishna happy by seeing them. They had no ulterior desires. They dedicated their bodies and everything they possessed to the service of Sri Krishna, taking for granted that their bodies were meant for his enjoyment. They dressed themselves on the understanding that Krishna would be happy by seeing and touching them. Text 182. E deha kailo nami Krishnera samarpana, tanradana tandraiha sambhoga sadhana. This deha body, kailun have done, ami I, Krishna to Lord Krishna, samarpana offering, tanra of him, dhana the wealth, tanra of him, iha this, sambhoga sadhana brings about the enjoyment. Translation. The gopis think, I have offered this body to Lord Krishna. He is its owner, and it brings him enjoyment. Text number 183. E dehadarshana sparashe Krishna santoshana, elagi kare deheras marjana bhushana. E deha of this body, darshana by sight, sparshe and touch, Krishna of Lord Krishna, santoshana the satisfaction, e lagi for this, kare they do, dehera of the body, marjana cleaning, bhushana decorating. Translation. Krishna finds joy in seeing and touching this body. It is for this reason that they cleanse and decorate their bodies. Text 184. Nijangam apiya gopyo mameti samupasati tabhyaha param name parta niguda prema bhajanam. Nija Angam, own body. Api, although. Yahu, Gopyaha, the gopis. Mama, mine. Iti, thus thinking. Samupasati, engage in decorating. Tabyaha, than them. Param, greater. Na, not. Me, for me. Partha, O Arjuna. Nigudha prema, of deep love. Bhajanam, receptacles. Translation. O Arjuna, there are no greater receptacles of deep love for me than the gopis, who cleanse and decorate their bodies because they consider them mine. Purport. This verse is spoken by Lord Krishna in the Adi Purana, text 185. Arikad Bhut Gopi Babera Swabhav, Buddhira Gochara Nahi Yahara Prabhav. Ara, another. Eka, one. Adbhuta, wonderful. Gopi Babhera, of the emotion of the gopis. Swabhava, nature. Buddhira, of the intelligence. Gochara, an object of perception. Nahe is not. Yahara, of which. Prabhava, the power. Translation. There is another wonderful feature of the emotion of the gopis. Its power is beyond the comprehension of the intelligence. Text 186. Gopi gana kare jabe Krishna darashana, Shuka vancha nahi sukha nahaya goti guna, Gopi gana, the gopis, kare, do, yabe, when, Krishna darashana, seeing Lord Krishna, sukha vancha, desire for happiness, nahi, there is not, sukha, the happiness, hai, there is, koti gana, koti guna, 10 million times. Translation. When the gopis see Lord Krishna, they derive unbounded bliss, although they have no desire for such pleasure. Text 187. Gopika darashane Krishnarye anandahai, tahaete kuti guna gopi asvadai. Gopika darashane, in seeing the gopis, Krishnera, of Lord Krishna, ye, whatever, ananda, joy, hoy, there is, taha oete, then that, koti guna, 10 million times more, gopi, the gopis, asvadaya, taste. Translation. The gopis taste a pleasure 10 million times greater than the pleasure Lord Krishna derives from seeing them. Purport. The wonderful characteristics of the gopis are beyond imagination. They have no desire for personal satisfaction. Yet, when Krishna is happy by seeing them, that happiness of Krishna makes the gopis 1,000,000 times more happy than Krishna himself. Text 188. Tan sabar nahi nija shuka anurado roda, tatapi badaye shuka padila viroda. Tan sabhar, of all of them, nahi, not, nija shuka, for their own happiness, anuroda, entreaty, tatapi, still, badaye, increases, sukha, happiness, padila, happen. Viroda, contradiction. Translation: the gopis have no inclination for their own enjoyment, and yet their joy increases. That is indeed a contradiction. Text 189. E virodera ekamatra diki samadhan, gopikara sukha Krishna sukhe paryavasan. This virodera of the contradiction, eka, one, matra, only, deki, I see, samadhana, solution, gopikara, of the gopis, sukha, the happiness, Krishna sukhe, in the happiness of Lord Krishna, paryavasana, the conclusion. Translation: for this contradiction, I see only one solution. The joy of the gopis lies in the joy of their beloved Krishna. Purport: the situation of the gopis is perplexing, for although they did not want personal happiness, it was imposed upon them. The solution to this perplexity is that Sri Krishna's sense of happiness is limited by the happiness of the gopis. Devotees at Vrindavana therefore tried to serve the gopis, namely Radharani and her associates. If one gains the favor of the gopis, he easily gains the favor of Krishna, because on the recommendation of the gopis, Krishna at once accepts the service of a devotee. Lord Chaitanya therefore wanted to please the gopis instead of Krishna. But his contemporaries misunderstood him, and for this reason Lord Chaitanya renounced the order of household life and became a sannyasi. Text 190. Gopika darashane Krishna bhade praful pallata, se madurya bhade yara nahi kasamata. Gopika darashane, in seeing the gopis, Krishnera, of Lord Krishna, bhade, increases, prafullata, the cheerfulness, say, that, madhurya, sweetness, bhade, increases, yara, of which, nahika, there is not, samata, equality. Translation: when Lord Krishna sees the gopis, his joy increases, and his unparalleled sweetness increases also. Text 191. Amara darashane Krishna poiloyeta shuka, e shuke gopira prafulla anga mukha. Amara darashane, in seeing me, Krishna, Lord Krishna, poila, obtain, ita, so much, sukha, happiness, this, sukhe, in happiness, gopira, of the gopis, prafulla, full-blown, angamukha, bodies and faces. Translation: the gopis think Krishna has obtained so much pleasure by seeing me. That thought increases the fullness and beauty of their faces and bodies. Text 192. Gopi shobhade ki Krishnera shobha bhade yata, Krishna lobhade ki gopira shobha bhade tata. Gopi shobha, the beauty of the gopis, deki, seeing, Krishnera, of Lord Krishna, shobha, the beauty, bhade, increases, yata, as much as, Krishna shobha, the beauty of Lord Krishna. Deki, seeing, Gopira, of the gopis, Shobha, the beauty, Badhe, increases, Tata, that much. Translation. The beauty of Lord Krishna increases at the sight of the beauty of the gopis, and the more the gopis see Lord Krishna's beauty, the more their beauty increases. Text 193. E mata paraspara pade udahudi, paraspara bade keha mukha nahi mudi. E mata, like this. Paraspara, reciprocal. Pade, happens. Hudahudi, jostling. Paraspara, mutually. Bhadi, increases. Keha, someone. Mukha, face. Nahi, not. Mudi, covering. In this way, a competition takes place between them in which no one acknowledges defeat. Text 194. Kintu Krishnera Shuka Hai Gopi Rupa Gune Tanra Shuke Shuka Vriddhi Hai Gopi Gane Kintu, but Krishnera, of Lord Krishna, Sukha, the happiness, I is Gopi Rupa Gune, in the qualities and beauty of the gopis, Tanra, of him, Sukhe, in the happiness, Sukha Vriddhi, increase of happiness, Haye, there is, Gopi Gane, in the gopis. Translation. Krishna, however, derives pleasure from the beauty and good qualities of the gopis. And when the gopis see his pleasure, the joy of the gopis increase. Text 195. Ataeva se Krishna sukha poshe eyetu gopi preme nahi kama doshe. Ataeva, therefore, say that Sukha, happiness, Krishna Sukha, the happiness of Lord Krishna, Poshe, nourishes, this, to reason, Gopi Preme, in the love of the gopis, Nahi, there is not, Kama Doshi, the fault of lust. Translation. Therefore, we find that the joy of the gopis nourishes the joy of Lord Krishna. For that reason, the fault of lust is not present in their love. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. By looking at the beautiful gopis, Krishna becomes enlivened, and this enlivens the gopis, whose youthful faces and bodies blossom. This competition of increasing beauty between the gopis and Krishna, which is without limitations, is so delicate that sometimes mundane moralists mistake these dealings to be purely amorous. But these affairs are not at all mundane, because the gopis' intense desire to satisfy Krishna surcharges the entire scene with pure love of Godhead, with not a spot of sexual indulgence. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyadeshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhakti Vedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasme Shri Gurave Namaha Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadati Visheshataha Adadana Srinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimadurhu Papadam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatusmyaham Sadadasu Asmi Sarabata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Shatkaromi Swam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj, the author, give a very systematic, detailed, analytical explanations of the position of Krishna and his associates. We see in the first chapter of the Adi Lila, in the first 14 verses, how Krishnadas Kaviraj has described the position of Lord Krishna, the position of Lord Chaitanya, the position of Lord Nityananda, the various incarnations, the various Purusha avatars. And in this way, he very systematically presents the entire philosophy of Krishna consciousness. In other words, Gaudiya Vaishnavism is very scientific, it is very detailed, and it is also very blissful. We see in the writings of the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they have written so many voluminous literatures because besides the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there are so many other literatures that have described the activities and pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have the Chaitanya Charitamrita that was compiled in 1612 on or about AD. The Chaitanya Bhagavata had already been compiled before the Chaitanya Charitamrita, during the manifested presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu between 1486 AD and 1534 AD. One devotee wrote the Chaitanya Charita, which also is a very nice transcendental description of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. There are also numerous literatures, both in Sanskrit, Bengali, Oriya, describing the pastimes and activities of Lord Chaitanya. But the unique feature of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is the theology of Gaudiya Vaishnavism is very, very nicely presented. Here in this section of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see that Krishnadas Kaviraj is explaining the position of the Gopikas. We've often touched upon the subject that one of the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srinath Chakravarti, has written a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. This was the first commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam in the Gaudiya Sampradaya. It is not a very elaborate, large commentary, but it is a very important commentary. And in the beginning of his commentary, he describes the unique and special position of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayastad Dhamma Vrindavanam, that the abode of Lord Krishna in Vrindavana, this is non-different than Krishna. It is worshipable. Ramya Kaschid Upasana Vrajavadu Vargena Yakalpita, that the worship of the Gopikas, the coward girls of Vrindavana, is the highest form of worship. He goes on, Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanamamalam, that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost evidence, the topmost spiritual literature. Prema Pumarta Mahan, the development of prema, or love of Godhead, is the ultimate goal of life. And he ends his beginning verse by saying, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhur Matamidam Tatradaro Napparaha, that in my opinion, there is no greater personality than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in the pages of Chaitanya Charitamrita, we see why. We see the detailed explanation that makes everything very clear. There is no confusion in the language of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. The position of the gopis is not one of lust, is not one of sensual indulgence. It is only meant for the satisfaction and pleasure of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada once related a story how in the early 1900s, some Christian priests went to Vrindavan, and he raised the issue that in your religion, Krishna is dancing with so many gopis in the middle of the night, stealing the garments of the gopis. What is this? And nobody could explain. None of the local people could explain. That is the difference between a bona fide acharya like Srila Prabhupada and pseudo Vaishnavas or Sahajias, who have very little understanding of the conclusions, of the bona fide conclusions of revealed scriptures or the Shastra. We see that the way that Prabhupada is presenting Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is following exactly in the footsteps of Krishnadas Goswami. So many times, disciples and others would ask Srila Prabhupada, what about Siddha Deha? What about Swarup Siddhi? What about the ultimate development of your relationship with Krishna? How to do that? And Srila Prabhupada's consistent explanation always was, you chant Hare Krishna, follow these various regulative principles, engage in a process of bhakti, and when you become liberated from the bodily conception of life, it will be revealed to you. Because the tendency of neophytes is to jump like monkeys, to try to understand this exalted position of the gopis. But we see here so many systematic description of the position of the gopis. One cannot artificially jump to such an exalted position without following the proper process. And we know that there are many other pseudo devotees who are very expert at presenting themselves as very knowledgeable in the topic of Bhava Bhakti, Rasa Bhakti, Rasika discussions. But the point is, one has to follow the path of the bona fide authorized acharyas. One cannot manufacture or invent his own way of understanding, his own way of following. During the manifested presence of Jiva Goswami, there was a controversy amongst many followers, because as we see, Srila Prabhupada as explained, there are two kinds of loving relationship with Krishna. One is called Parakiya, and one is called Svakiya. One of them is the relationship of Krishna with Radharani in a married form. In the Brahma Vaivarta Purana and other Puranas, Padma Purana, there is description of the marriage of Lord Krishna with Radha. But many of the followers of Jiva Goswami did not like this emphasis. They said that the real understanding is called the Svakiya, or Lord Krishna's relationship with the various gopis, the unmarried cowherd girls. But Srila Prabhupada has explained that Jiva Goswami had explained everything according to time, place, and circumstances. One cannot go above the Acharya, the authorized Acharya. One has to follow the Acharya and engage in the service of the bona fide Acharya. Just today on Facebook, I saw one devotee trying to chastise another devotee, claiming, oh, you cannot have Prabhupada as your guru. Prabhupada died in 1977. You're some kind of nonsense, ridiculous explanation. I think those of you who have been following these various readings and discussions know that Srila Prabhupada many times has explained in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam how his Guru Maharaj came as a result of the prayers of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his father, who wanted to beget a son who would expand the preaching of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission. This is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the third canto, chapter 22, text 19. Srimad Bhagavatam, canto 3, chapter 22, text 19. Srila Prabhupada explains, unless one can train a child for liberation in that life, there is no need to marry or produce children. If human society produces children like cats and dogs for the disturbance of social order, then the world becomes hellish, as it has in this age of Kali. In this age, neither parents nor their children are trained. Both are animalistic and simply eat, sleep, mate, defend, and gratify their senses. This disorder in social life cannot bring peace in human society. Kardama Muni explains beforehand that he would not associate with the girl Devahuti for the whole duration of his life. He would simply associate with her until she had a child. In other words, sex life should be utilized only to produce a nice child, not for any other purpose. Human life is especially meant for complete devotion to the service of the Lord. That is the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya. After fulfilling his responsibility to produce a nice child, one should take sannyas and engage in the perfectional Paramamsa stage. Paramamsa refers to the most highly elevated perfectional stage of life. There are 4 stages within sannyas life, and Paramamsa is the highest order. The Srimad Bhagavatam is called the Paramamsa Samhita, the treatise for the highest class of human beings. The Paramahamsa is free from envy. In other stages, even in the householder stage of life, there is competition and envy. But since the activities of the human being in the Paramamsa stage are completely engaged in Krishna consciousness or devotional service, there is no scope for envy. In the same order as Kardama Muni, about 100 years ago, Thakur Bhaktivinoda also wanted to beget a child who could preach the philosophy and teachings of Lord Chaitanya to the fullest extent. By his prayers to the Lord, he added his child Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja, who at the present moment is preaching the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya throughout the entire world through his bona fide disciples. I want to repeat that last sentence here. By his prayers to the Lord, he had at his child Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, who at the present moment is preaching the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya throughout the entire world through his bona fide disciples. What's interesting to note about this purport, this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the third canto, which was being written and edited around 1972-73. Prabhupada is describing an incident with regard to his Guru Maharaj, who at that point was preaching the philosophy of Lord Chaitanya. Well, for the Vapuvadis, or people too absorbed in the bodily conception of life, they should remember that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada departed in late December 1936. How is he preaching in 1972? That they cannot explain. Their birth-sized brain cannot accommodate, because this is not a body conception philosophy. This is a transcendental philosophy. Those of you who have read the Srimad Bhagavatam, which I'm sure everyone here has, know very well the dedication that Srila Prabhupada has in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. He lives forever by his divine instructions, and the follower lives with him. This is from the 1962 dedication of the New Delhi edition of Srimad Bhagavatam. How is the disciple living since the Guru departed many years before? Again, their bird brain cannot accommodate, because they are too absorbed in the bodily conception of life. We do know from a lecture Prabhupada gave on the 13th of January 1969 in Los Angeles, California, Srila Prabhupada was explaining the position of the great acharyas. Prabhupada said, what we have heard from the spiritual master, that is living. Prabhupada never looked upon his Guru Maharaj as being dead and gone. That is not proper understanding. That is defective understanding. That's why we see so many Vapuvadis misunderstanding the teachings, the instruction, and the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his bona fide current Acharya, Srila Prabhupada. Because they want to use this philosophy to misrepresent the teaching for personal sense gratification. Profit, adoration, and distinction. It's called pratishta. When the mind and the heart becomes contaminated with these nonsense ideas, then everything becomes twisted. Rather than emphasize the eternal presence of the Acharya, they're constantly emphasizing their own physicality. This is a very important point. We keep going about this point again and again because some persons don't accept it. When Prabhupada says he lives forever by his divine instructions, they don't accept it. They read it, it goes into one ear and goes straight out the other. And they're too busy with their self-aggrandizement, self-promotion, narcissistic, selfish, nonsense ideas. That's why when this mentality is there, everything is filtered to this nonsense misinterpretation. And the first thing they do, the Vapuvadis, is launch accusations against Prabhupada followers and Prabhupada students and disciples by claiming, oh, you're all envious. They're so frustrated, they can't have a philosophical discussion. Oh, no, they can't have that. Immediately, they will resort to accusations, falsehoods, distortions, fabrications, prevarications, suppression, threats, banning, beating, suing, all kinds of nonsense to try to emphasize their self-appointed status. To have an intelligent discussion, that they cannot do. They have plenty of time for gossip, innuendos, threats, political nonsense. That they will have plenty of time. When it comes to a cool-headed discussion to exactly ascertain Srila Prabhupada's statements, that they will not do. We have seen this on a different topic. In 1977 in May, our humble self had the good opportunity, very special opportunity and privilege to be with Srila Prabhupada for a few weeks at night, for a few hours, attending to his divine grace. And one night, Srila Prabhupada stated, do you hear these sounds? I said, what sound, Prabhupada? He said, the sound, the monkeys, the parrots, the birds, the cuckoos, do you hear? I said, yes, Prabhupada. He says, this is a very special place. And Prabhupada said, this is the highest place in the universe. And then I told Prabhupada, well, in some of your books, you've made statements of Navadvip and Mayapur are the highest place in the universe. Prabhupada said, yes, that is also there. But in this land of Vrindavan, Krishna and Balaram came here. Krishna and the gopis came here. So what do you think of this place? So I quoted from Prabhupada a verse that we had been learning with the Gurukul children at the Bhaktivedanta Swami Gurukul. It's a verse from the Adi Purana cited in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Trailoke pratividanya yatara vrindavanam bhuvi tatrapi gopikaha parta yatra radha bhidam mama. That this place is Vrindavan, is very, very special. This is Lord Krishna telling Arjuna in the Adi Purana. Prabhupada explained that this place is very special because Radharani and the gopis are here busy trying to please Krishna. And Prabhupada said, yes, that is very nice. So now you stay in this place and teach. So this is the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that he was always teaching us the conclusion of Shastra and trying to engage us in the service of his divine grace. We had another experience in 1974 when the Krishna Balaram temple was being built. There was no guest house. The temple was not built. There was just Prabhupada's house, his residence, which was not fully completed. And one morning, there were some bricks on Prabhupada's patio in the back. There was no garden back there. We were living in tents near the wall. There was a long wall on the boundary of the Krishna Balaram property and a neighbor. And Guru Kripa Swami, myself, and several other devotees, we approached. Prabhupada had come out of his room, and he picked up a brick that was laying there. And there was one devotee who had gone to Radhakund. He had put Radhakund tilak, big Radhakund beads. And Prabhupada took the brick and started to scream at him. And so we approached close to Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada says, who told you? Who authorized you to go to Radhakund on your own? Who do you think you are? Who are you? You should not do things independently and whimsically. Who told you to put this tilak? Who told you to do this, do that? And Prabhupada was very angry, very upset. Prabhupada eventually put the brick down, went back into his room, and later that day, for several hours, Prabhupada kept preaching about the danger of devotees imitating, devotees trying to jump over to Radhakund or Gopis, this kind of talk. Prabhupada said, first you follow the standard. First you follow the principles. First you do the chanting. First you do the preaching. Then this will come later. Prabhupada was never very fond of devotees artificially jumping to some Gopi Bhav or some nonsense ideas. This was not Prabhupada's method of preaching. And this is a very important point. Very important point. Now we see so many misconceptions and false ideologies being introduced and some way or other infiltrated into Srila Prabhupada's society by the very individuals who are supposed to prevent these things from happening, by the very individuals who are supposed to make sure that these things do not occur in Srila Prabhupada's devotional society. We've often discussed the tendency, the sahaja tendency of many devotees to manufacture different kirtans, different new mantras, different new songs. And they will claim, oh, well, we've heard this from such and such place in Vrindavan, such and such Brajavasi, such and such Babaji, such and such Mat, such and such advisor. So many different ideas are being introduced. There's one famous purport discussion where Prabhupada was analyzing this famous popular song, Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam Hare Krishna Hare Ram. And Prabhupada said, because they are singing the name of Nitai Gaur, they still get some benefit. But Prabhupada said, the acharyas, they have not given this. The authorized acharya in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, they have not introduced this. So what we see is so many non-authorized persons, self-appointed, voted-in persons, inventing and manufacturing bogus kirtan, bogus ideas, so many gypsy dancing nonsense, so many things. One devotee made a nice comment, it's called busy foolish. Why not just follow the acharya? Why not just follow the standard established by the acharya? We do know that that standard works. During his manifested presence, thousands of people came to the shelter of Srila Prabhupada. But people will say, well, we have so many big buildings, we have so many followers, but what are you preaching? Why are you distorting? Why are you changing? Why are you manufacturing so many nonsense things? Somebody recently tried to argue with me, oh, we have to see how many followers they have got. I said, well, Prabhupada had 5,000 initiated disciples. By some accounts, some people say 10,000. These were engaged in Srila Prabhupada's society. And within a few years, most of these followers were no longer active in Srila Prabhupada's society. So what happened to these people? What happened to these Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis? Srila Prabhupada placed these devotees under the care and management of his leaders. What did they do? One of these foolish leaders made a complete nonsensical statement when it was brought to his attention in 1978 that many persons were concerned about the way this whole guru system was being introduced. And many questions were being discussed. Many topics were being discussed by many senior devotees. And that devotee, very flamboyant, laughed. He said, "Let them all leave. We've got our own disciples now. Ha, ha, ha." Oh, really? That is not the attitude that Prabhupada had. That is not the way that Prabhupada taught. We're not trying to find fault with anybody. That's not the issue here. We're more interested in fact-finding rather than fault-finding. But just a mere number of followers is no guarantee of success. Some of you may be familiar with a letter Prabhupada wrote to one of his editors very early on in 1972, where Prabhupada described, "What good are many devotees if none of them are knowledgeable?" Prabhupada wanted devotees to be trained up properly, to read the books, to properly understand the philosophy. Some of you are familiar with Srila Prabhupada's letter. There was a yoga village and a yoga roadshow by 1971-72. And when Prabhupada heard about this, he said, "Stop all this." So our process is to have kirtan, distribute books, spread the mission of Lord Chaitanya like that. He said, devotees that will be attracted by this show will not last. They will not come because this is not the proper standard. Prabhupada established a standard. And those who claim to be leaders or so-called leaders should follow that standard. Follow the instruction. Don't distort the instruction. Don't avoid the discussion. Don't avoid the arguments. If you have no answer for the arguments, then admit it. Stop the nonsense. They will not do that. Why? Pod problem. ISKCON has been infested and infiltrated by the pod problem. PAD. Profit, adoration, and distinction. That is the most dangerous disease that a Vaishnava can confront. This is described very nicely in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions to Rupa Goswami. It's very detailed there. There are so many very detailed descriptions of what a Vaishnava should be very careful about. One should be very careful about these things. This is very important. Very important. Devotional service is not a show. We're not interested in show bottle. This is not our standard. We see that in the teachings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and also our Srila Prabhupada, started to translate a book called Mukunda Malastotra that had been compiled by King Kulashekara at the beginning of Kali Yuga. It's a very beautiful set of prayers describing devotion to Lord Krishna. And in one of these prayers, he's explaining Majjanmanaphalamidam maduketa mat prartaniya madanugraha esha eva tvad britya paricharaka britya brityasya yiti mam smaralokanata. Oh, my dear Lord, you are the enemy of the Madhu and Kaitava demon. I have simply one favor to beg from you. I have one prayer to ask of you. Kindly let me be the servant of your servant of your servant. 7 times he's describing. This will be the fulfillment of my life. This will be the fulfillment of my birth. This is the same teaching that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave. Nadhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam vajagadisha kamaya mama janmani sware Bhavatat bhaktirai tukitvaye. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has explained. Nadhanam najan. I don't want wealth. I don't want followers. I don't want beautiful women, or these days, beautiful boys and girls. I don't want to be a very famous poet. Then what do you want? Mama janmani janmanishware bhavatat bhaktirai tukitvaye. Simply causeless service. Causeless service. We have practically seen how some self-appointed acharyas were very disappointed and angry, and they claimed they did not receive proper puja. Acha. So you were after puja. You're doing this bhakti to get your puja? But we see what happened when the intelligence and the heart becomes contaminated with pratishta. The intelligence gets bewildered. The ability to see things in a proper perspective becomes infected. It becomes disturbed. And all kinds of nonsense will go on. All kinds of ridiculous explanations will come. One should very carefully study Srila Prabhupada's teachings and avoid the association of persons who mislead others. Several times we've read from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, text 42. Chapter 4, text 42 of Bhagavad Gita, in the last two sentences, Prabhupada gives a very clear warning. Chapter 4, text 42, very clear warning to avoid the association of persons who mislead others. Let us quote the exact text. So here we go. Venkat Prabhu's got it. Very nicely. One should therefore follow the path of Bhagavad Gita as it is expressed in the Gita itself, and beware of self-interested people after personal aggrandizement who deviate others from the actual path. The Lord is definitely the supreme person, and his activities are transcendental. One who understands this is a liberated person from the very beginning of his study of the Gita. What can be more clear than this? We had a very interesting experience in 1976. Srila Prabhupada went to Agra, and there was a very wealthy life member who received Srila Prabhupada. And there were some very interesting discussions Prabhupada had with this gentleman. A lot of this was in Hindi, and then Prabhupada also spoke in English so that all the disciples could understand. And Srila Prabhupada is explaining how sense gratification is very dangerous because it's addicting. And because the gentleman, the life member, asked Prabhupada, well, what about satisfaction of the senses? What should we do with this human body with the desire that everybody has to satisfy the senses? Prabhupada explained that one should be very careful only to accept what is necessary for the maintenance of the body and soul. Now, this is a very profound statement because we see anybody on this call, wherever you are, you will observe that all around there is so much propaganda in the newspaper, the radio, the television, the internet, billboards everywhere. There is constant propaganda for people to engage in unlimited varieties of sense gratification. Unlimited varieties of sense gratification. And when they're constantly hankering for this sense gratification, and when they're dissatisfied or frustrated, then the lamentation come in, the complaint, lamenting, and this is the disease in the material world. One gets caught up in this situation, and the only way to get remedy, to get relief from this cycle, is to take full shelter of a pure devotee, of a fully realized pure devotee. Interestingly, this week, one devotee sent me an email that Prabhupada used to be a Kanishtadikari and then he became a pure devotee. And I was thinking, no, this is not the proper understanding. There's a very famous letter that Prabhupada wrote that in his life, he never forgot Krishna, although he had plenty of opportunity to engage in sinful activities being born in an aristocratic family. But he never forgot Krishna, never engaged in any sinful activities. That is a characteristic of a Nitya Siddha, of an eternally liberated soul. Prabhupada did not become liberated. Prabhupada did not go from being a Kanishta to a Madhyama to a... He always was a full-fledged Uttamadikari from birth, a full-fledged Mahabhagavata, a full-fledged Nitya Siddha, eternally liberated soul. That is the exalted position of a person like Prabhupada. Just like Vishwakarma Prabhu was reading every class about Srila Prabhupada's activities in 1965 and 66, and how much detailed Prabhupada used to do for everything. He was accounting for everything. The bus fare, how many books were being distributed, which books were put under consignment, how many people came to Kirtan, so much detail. But Prabhupada was unaffected. He had very little support. Everybody has seen that picture of Srila Prabhupada walking in the street with a chadar wrapped around his shoulder, and it's cold, there's nobody around him. He didn't have many followers in the beginning, no financial support, hardly anybody there to help him, but yet Srila Prabhupada kept steady, very, very steady, never complained, never lamented, never hankered for personal sense gratification. All he did was fulfill the mission of Lord Chaitanya, and every single day dedicated for preaching. He was showing by example, by writing down everything, how not to misuse money, how not to waste money, how to properly account for the assets that Krishna is giving. And we see that gradually Krishna gave him so much facility, so much facility. In 1970, I went from Philadelphia to San Francisco. I arrived on the day of Rath Yatra, and then Gargamuni brought me to Los Angeles. And when I got to Los Angeles, one devotee told me a story that had happened a few months earlier. That Srila Prabhupada was in his room, and one very attractive young lady, like a Playboy bunny type, came to see Srila Prabhupada and asked Srila Prabhupada, is there anything I could do for you personally? And Prabhupada said, well, you can chant Hare Krishna and take prasadam. And he says, no, not like that. Like personally, something I can do for you personally. The subtle implication was that she wanted to either please Prabhupada sensually or something. Prabhupada says, no, the only thing you can do is chant Hare Krishna and take prasadam. This is the position of a pure devotee. I've also heard directly from a senior devotee who told me that Srila Prabhupada told one devotee, do you know the difference between you and me? Prabhupada said, if you were to be in a room with 10 attractive naked women, you would be agitated, and I would not be agitated in the least. That is the difference. One should never misunderstand the position of an exalted devotee like Srila Prabhupada. That's why we see some so-called pseudo-biographers who wrote in the introduction of their book that they invite their readers to read the very human story of Bhaktivedanta. Excuse me? That is not our philosophy. Gurushu naramatihi yasyave narakisa. That if you think that the Acharya is like an ordinary human, you're a naraki, a candidate for hellish regions. And this is the problem. People become bewildered by personal ambition, and they misunderstand the pure devotee and misrepresent the pure devotee. very dangerous. One should be aware of such persons and not given any kind of oral reception to their so-called explanation of Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much for your time. I don't have Vishwakarma Prabhu here today. We can open the discussion. I've lost track of the time. Can anybody tell me what time it is now? Hello? Anybody there?
It is 9. Yeah, it is 9:19 p.m. 9:20.
9:20. That means 5:20. Okay. So, Dr. Prabhu, can they give me your comments and your bhashya? What is your explanation of these discussions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yes, one of the reasons I joined this discussion group is just to get these small little pearls of quotations which you quote Srila Prabhupada on about his position as the Acharya, and how it reminds me of one of the YouTube videos which I've seen, which are in 4 parts, where Ayendra Das Prabhu also talks about the same thing. Fake it till we make it. This approach should be abandoned, because everybody is into this particular part. And also he gives this analogy of like the king with no clothes, Everybody wants to go after this pada, P-A-D, as you correctly said, puja, lava puja pratishtha, and that is where it kind of sucks you in. And why, as you correctly said, is that it is addictive. And when I was thinking about it, that yes, am I also afflicted by it to a certain extent? Yes, I am also. I also look for these kinds of adorations and admirations in my own small way. But very important that we cannot usurp Srila Prabhupada's position, which is so very critical, so very important to understand. But it just drives me crazy to see how, in spite of reading his books, in spite of knowing all this literature, that they still continue to do what they do. It just kind of baffles me, and I'm afraid that what is awaiting them, what kind of life is awaiting them, what Maya will award them, is just very, very scary.
Yeah.
Dharma Bhavana, would you like to comment on that?
Hare Krishna. Yeah, that was a wonderful class today. I like the fact that you covered a lot of different things, very, very important. About 1.5 years ago, I went to visit one of my teenage friends in Houston, and he had become very wealthy, married, settled down, Christian, and we were just having a kind of a funny discussion, because he knew we were Hare Krishna devotees, and he was just trying to impress upon us that in my church association in Houston, we have 70,000 members, and he was saying, how could everybody be wrong? And I said, well, if you're doing very nicely, you're developing your love for God, that is beautiful, that's wonderful. But along the same lines, for a devotee, we could easily go to, say, Mayapur, Vrindavan, or any temple and see hundreds and thousands of people. And it may look like, oh, so much is going on. They're singing and dancing and, deities and so on. But without having a really substantial, knowledge of, like what we have in our reading and discussions, without really a knowledge of the scriptures and inspiration from Srila Prabhupada's direct quotes and in his, presenting Krishna consciousness to us, one can get a wrong impression. One can think something is just a lot of people, and it's very fabulous, and become kind of convinced that everything here is pure. But there can be so much singing and dancing going on, but there may be very little or no substance. So I just had a small comment, because that I remember my friend was so confident that 70,000 people can't be wrong. I was just kind of thinking of that. Thank you.
Well, Prabhupada has made many comments on the issue of large number of followers. During the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there was a Babaji named Charandas Babaji. He's the one who spread that unauthorized mantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Nitai Gaur Radhe Shyam. And in one conversation, Prabhupada said, that this is not given by the Acharyas, that the Acharyas have not given this kind of mantra. And Prabhupada emphasized we have to follow the standard and the path that has been given by the Acharyas. That is the proper process. Is Bhakta Ram Singh there today? Would you like to make a comment, Prabhu?
Yes, I'm here in Sacramento. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah,
Maybe you can
wonderful
give
class.
us your bhashya.
Wonderful class, Yashodanandan and Prabhu. It gives great insight about how Srila Prabhupada had warned the devotees to stay loyal to his instructions and his books. So I'd like to impress on that point that everyone who's watching this program should follow what Prabhupada is saying, as you have put it, and be loyal to Srila Prabhupada, read his original books, chant on the streets, help people become devotees, and advancement is guaranteed. We just have to be enthusiastic, stay in good association with the devotees here, and then see their life progress in Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much.
I want to point out that Bhakta Ram is in the process of developing an ashram in a center, Hare Krishna Society Prabhupada Disciples Association Center in Oroville, California. It's about 1.5 hours north of Sacramento, if I'm probably near Chico, east of Chico. So that'll be very interesting. That will take place in the next couple of months, and we're very supportive of all his efforts. I just want to point out in 1977, I had an experience. I was in Prabhupada's room one time, and Prabhupada signaled to a few of his other leaders, GBCs, to come close to his bed. And he says, please do not turn my institution like the Gaudiya Math or the Catholic Church. And when we fast forward 46 years and analyze what has taken place, we see that many of these introductions are just like the Gaudiya Math and the Catholic Church. Very, very interesting point. Would anybody else like to make a comment before we put the kirtan back?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I've got one thing to comment on.
You please go ahead. Please go ahead.
What Dharma Bhavana was talking about is, belonging to a church which has 70,000 people as their members. Right now the Temple of Vedic Planetarium was inaugurated. You could see so many people over there. How can so many people be wrong? I can only remind the preachers amongst us to quote the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna himself says, Manusyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. Out of thousands and thousands, very few endeavor to know the truth and to pursue the truth. So even if you were to read Prabhupada's as it is introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, in the last sentence he mentioned that all these efforts which I have put in, even if one soul, I'm able to make the one soul a pure devotee of the Lord, I think my efforts or our efforts are worth everything. So number is never the game. This is not a democracy. This is not something where strength is in numbers. It is all about quality. That is why Prabhupada always used to say, let purity be thy force.
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
There is a saying in Latin, vox Dei or vox populi. Our philosophy is vox Dei. We go by the dictum of God and the Acharyas, not by popular vote. Vox populi. This is a very important point. We don't decry any number of devotees trying to make spiritual advancement to chant. That's very nice. Let them do that. Our request is that the leaders should not pollute the philosophy by distorting the teachings, changing the books, and all the nonsense. That is dangerous. Before we conclude, I've been having a correspondence with a devotee, Dr. Robert Barron, very interesting, and he asked me to find for him a conversation that we read maybe 2 weeks ago. It's actually very funny. Prabhupada is having a discussion with a guest. Prabhupada, this was on, let me see here. This was on 27th of April, 1976. 27th of April, 1976. It's a Chaitanya Charitamrita class on Madhya Lila 20, chapter 20, text 98. Chaitanya Charitamrita class, Madhya Lila, chapter 20, text 98, on 27th of April, 1976. And Srila Prabhupada basically went on, push to Krishna. You had a question. Guess, is it possible to see Krishna right now? Srila Prabhupada, why don't you see him in your back? Guess, but can't I just see him? Prabhupada, well, you have no eyes to see. Guess, can I see him within? Srila Prabhupada, yes. Guess, why? Why is it not so easy? Why can't each one of us push to Krishna? Why is it so difficult to see Krishna? Why can't each of us see him within? Srila Prabhupada, you have to become qualified. Guest, why do I have to become qualified? Why? Srila Prabhupada, yes. Suppose if there is a big man before you in some big meeting, can you talk with him? Guest, why? Srila Prabhupada, no. First of all, answer this. Suppose there's a big meeting going on and some big man is present. Suppose the president is there. Can you talk with him? Why? Why you cannot talk? For talking, we think you require some qualification. It's not that he's so cheap that you talk with Krishna immediately. Atasa Krishna namadi nabhaved granyam indriyehi sevan mukhehi jivado swayam eva spuratyadaha. From Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 17, 136. So if you accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord, then you have to qualify yourself to talk with him. Guess, by his grace, Krishna will show himself to you. Srila Prabhupada, yes. If you read Krishna book, and if you believe, then you see Krishna. He's not different from the book. Guess, but we could read words till the cows come home. What good is that going to do? Devotee, you have to accept what you read. You can't read with an argumentative attitude, or you can't ask questions in an argumentative attitude. You'll never learn. Guest, I can only accept what I experience. Srila Prabhupada, what is your experience? Guess, my experience is that I've seen Krishna with my own eyes. Prabhupada, you had seen? Yes. Prabhupada, that's very nice. Devotees laugh. Guess, it hasn't been hard. Prabhupada, that's nice. Guess, I haven't had to read any words. Srila Prabhupada, oh, then you are perfect. Devotee, are there any other questions, please? Srila Prabhupada, sit down. You are perfect. Laughter. Yes, we're all perfect. Srila Prabhupada, yes. Yes, I must speak. Push to Krishna, but please, you can speak afterwards. Please sit down. Srila Prabhupada, you have already spoken. Don't take the whole time. Let others question. Push to Krishna. Others also want to see Krishna. Are there any other questions, please? Girl, how can we stop speculating? Push to Krishna. How can we stop speculating? Srila Prabhupada, stop speculation. Don't manufacture ideas. You take what Krishna says, then it will automatically stop. Speculation. The question of speculation comes when you do not accept what Krishna says. If you accept Krishna, what Krishna says, then there is no scope of speculation. That is our movement, that accept Krishna's teaching as it is. Don't speculate, then it is lost. This is our movement. Krishna says that aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate, Bhagavad Gita 10:8. I'm the origin of everything. Everything emanates from me. If you accept, then it is all right. And if you speculate, you can do that. But our movement is to accept Krishna. Brahma means Janmadyasya Yataha, Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1, the origin of everything. Here's the person. He says, Aham sarvasya prabhato matta sarvam pravartate. Bhagavad Gita 10:8. Accept it. Very simple thing. You are searching after who is the origin of everything. And Krishna says, I am the origin of everything. So if you accept, your question is solved. If you don't accept, go on speculating. There is no difficulty. Difficulty is when you do not accept Krishna's instruction. Then difficulty is. Otherwise, there is no difficulty. And why people do not accept? That is also explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate. Bhagavad Gita 7:19. After many, many births speculation, when one actually comes to the platform of knowledge, Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate. So we don't find many such jnanavan. Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma. Bhagavad Gita 7:19. One who has accepted Vasudeva Krishna as everything, that kind of Mahatma is very, very rare to be found. It is not very ordinary thing. So anyone who has accepted Krishna as everything, he's the greatest Mahatma. Most fortunate. And we can practically see in these modern countries, everyone 4 or 5 years, or at most 10 years, who never heard what is Krishna. Now 1,000, they are devotees of Krishna because they have accepted Krishna. Vasudeva sarvamiti sahamatma. Bhagavad Gita 7:19. You accept blindly or knowingly, the result will be the same. If you touch fire knowingly or unknowingly, it will burn. This is the position. If you accept Krishna as the supreme, Aham sarvasya prabhavaha, Bhagavad Gita 10:8, the origin of everything, then the action will be there. Samahatma sudurlabhaha. You'll become the greatest Mahatma. And what is the sign of Mahatma? Mahatmanas tumam partha devim prakritim ashritaha bhajantyanadnyam manaso. Bhagavad Gita 9:19. Interestingly, a little later in a conversation, Prabhupada says, Guru Kripa, if one becomes purified, is it possible when he becomes transferred to the spiritual world that he can meet Rupa Goswami and other great? Srila Prabhupada, yes. Provided you are pure, purified, you can meet everyone. The condition is purified. Yesham tvantagatam papam, that is stated. That is purification, no more sinful life. Yesham tvantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam. A person who is always engaged in pious activities, tedvanvam mohanir mukta, bhajanti mam dridabrataha, Bhagavad Gita 7:28. So we'll leave it at that from now. Thanks everybody for participating, and sorry for my rambling for so long here. I don't have my associate Vishwakarma to help me today. He'll be back on Saturday. Thanks everybody for participating. Venkat Prabhu will have the kirtan, and then we'll do the Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Let us offer our respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thanks everybody for participating. We'll see you all on Saturday morning. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnava Vangsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathannitam Tang Sajivam Sadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam